It was a quiet Sunday morning. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, dust motes dancing in the golden light. Emma sat at the kitchen table sipping her coffee while Max, her aging golden retriever, stretched lazily on the rug. Everything seemed peaceful, almost ordinary. But then Max stiffened. His ears pricked, and his deep brown eyes fixed on the corner of the living room. He let out a low, hesitant growl, rising into a whine, his paws digging lightly into the carpet. Emma frowned. "Max, what is it?" she whispered, leaning forward. Max nudged the photo frame on the side table with his nose and backed away, circling it repeatedly. The frame held a picture of Emma's late grandmother, smiling warmly, a cup of tea in her hand. Emma laughed nervously. "It's just Grandma's photo, silly boy," she said, trying to soothe him. But Max's behavior escalated. He barked softly, then sat rigidly, refusing to move from the frame. His eyes seemed almost pleading, urging her to look closer. Emma's heart skipped. Could he sense something she didn't? Moments later, everything changed. Before we continue, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more heart-touching dog stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? The morning sunlight seeped through the living room blinds, painting golden stripes across the carpet. Dust motes floated lazily in the warm air, catching the light as if the room were filled with tiny, silent fireflies. Emma sat at the small oak kitchen table, a cup of steaming coffee in her hands, savoring the calm. Outside, the faint rustle of leaves whispered through the half-open window. The smell of fresh bread from the bakery next door drifted in, mingling with the soft aroma of her coffee. Max lay on the rug nearby, his coat a soft sun-bleached gold. Age had slowed him down, but he still had the dignity of a dog who had lived a full, loyal life. His paws twitched slightly as he slept, dreaming of distant fields, running free under wide-open skies. Occasionally, he would shift, rolling onto his side with a gentle grunt, then settle back down with a sigh that seemed to echo the quiet rhythm of the morning. Emma watched him for a moment, smiling softly. "Good morning, old boy," she whispered. Max's ears twitched, but he didn't open his eyes. She set her coffee down and leaned back, enjoying the peaceful companionship. The world outside was still waking up. The street below hummed softly with the low hum of early traffic. Birds chirped in uneven choruses, some bold, some hesitant. Max stretched, his back legs extending slowly, and yawned, revealing teeth dulled with age. Emma reached out and scratched behind his ears, feeling the warm, familiar tension of his muscles. He leaned into her hand, eyes half closed in contentment. "You're such a good boy," she murmured. The sound of her voice seemed to mingle with the soft morning light, wrapping them in a cocoon of quiet comfort. The kettle clicked as it boiled, and Emma poured herself another cup of coffee. Max shifted again, rolling onto his belly and resting his head on his paws. Everything seemed ordinary, perfectly ordinary. Then he stopped. His ears pricked. His body stiffened, and his eyes darted toward the corner of the living room where the small photo frame rested on the side table. He let out a low whine, barely audible at first, then louder, more insistent. Emma frowned, following his gaze. "Max, what is it?" she asked gently. He took a cautious step forward, sniffing the air near the frame, then stepped back again, circling it slowly. His tail lowered, his brow furrowed, his instincts alert and focused. Emma's heart skipped a beat. The photo frame held a picture of her late grandmother, smiling warmly while holding a cup of tea. She had always loved that photograph, the way her grandmother's eyes seemed to twinkle even in stillness. "It's just Grandma's picture, silly boy," Emma said, reaching to touch the frame. But Max backed away. He barked softly, a gentle alarm that carried more urgency than fear. He pawed at the floor, circling the frame, then sat rigidly, staring. Emma could see his body tense, every muscle alert. His instinct was clear. Something was there. Something that Emma had never noticed before. She knelt down, leaning closer. The frame seemed ordinary at first glance. But Max's behavior, the quiet insistence, the unspoken urgency, made her pause. Her chest tightened. Could a dog sense something hidden that she could not? Max whined again, nudging the frame with his nose, then looked up at her with those deep, knowing eyes. It was as if he were saying, "You need to see this. Now." Emma swallowed hard. She reached for the photo. Her fingers trembled slightly, though she wasn't sure if it was from cold, from nerves, or from the quiet anticipation that had settled over the room like a soft fog. Max remained by the photo frame, his body taut and still. He refused to move, as if some invisible force had rooted him in place. Emma knelt beside him, her hand hovering above his soft fur. The gentle morning light glinted off his coat, highlighting the faint streaks of silver that age had left behind. She could feel the tension vibrating through him. His ears were pinned forward, his tail flicking in subtle, precise movements. Every detail of his posture spoke of alertness and concern. Emma's eyes followed his gaze. She saw the frame again, the familiar photograph of her grandmother. Yet something about the way Max stared made her heart beat faster. There was a focus there that she had never witnessed before, a silent insistence, a quiet plea that demanded attention. "Max, you really want me to look closer?" she whispered, her voice soft and uncertain. The old dog let out a small whine, almost impatient, and pawed at the floor again. Then he did something unexpected. He leaned forward slightly, his nose twitching as he sniffed the air around the frame. He circled it once more, slow and deliberate, then stopped abruptly, tail stiff, staring at a small corner of the photograph. His eyes narrowed, and a low, soft growl rumbled from deep in his chest. It was not aggressive. It was not fear. It was awareness. Pure, undiluted instinct. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She knelt closer, her nose nearly brushing the glass. What are you seeing, boy?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Max looked back at her, ears flicking, eyes steady and unwavering. It was as if he were telling her there. That detail. Notice it. Her fingers traced the edges of the frame, brushing lightly against the polished wood. Max nudged her hand gently with his nose, guiding her. She leaned in, studying the photo more carefully than ever before. At first glance it appeared ordinary, her grandmother smiling, a steaming cup of tea in hand, light falling softly on her face. But Max's behavior made her question everything she thought she knew. The room was silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant chirping of birds outside. Max tilted his head slightly, nostrils flaring as he sniffed. He stepped closer to the frame, then paused, almost as if holding his breath. His eyes remained locked on one corner. Emma followed his gaze. And then she saw it. A tiny, almost imperceptible detail. A folded piece of paper tucked behind the frame, barely visible. The edges were worn, the paper yellowed with age. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She reached for it, but Max stepped slightly in front of her, blocking her hand with a gentle, firm nudge. He sat, eyes fixed on her as if warning, "Take your time. Don't rush. See it properly." Her hands trembled as she lifted the frame carefully. The paper slid out, unfolding slowly between her fingers. It smelled faintly of old books and lavender, a comforting scent that reminded her of afternoons spent in her grandmother's study. Max lay down nearby, eyes never leaving her, head tilted slightly. His tail thumped softly against the carpet, a quiet rhythm of reassurance. Emma read the note, her voice barely a whisper. "For Emma, when the time feels right. Love, Grandma." Her eyes welled with tears. The handwriting was familiar, warm and deliberate, each letter carrying the essence of her grandmother's care. Max leaned forward then, resting his head gently against her knee. His eyes were soft now, attentive yet calm. Emma stroked his fur, letting the moment breathe, letting herself feel the quiet magic of intuition and loyalty. Max had guided her to this moment, his instincts sharper than she had ever realized. The sun shifted slightly in the sky, casting a warm glow across the living room. The air felt alive with memory, with the unspoken connection between them. Emma held the note close, feeling both the weight of the past and the gentle promise of discovery yet to come. Max sat back, tail flicking in quiet satisfaction. He had done what he was meant to do. His job as a protector, a guide, and a loyal companion was never more clear. And Emma knew, deep in her heart, that the bond they shared was far deeper than she had ever imagined. Moments later, everything would begin to unfold. Revelations, memories, and the healing warmth of connection that only a dog's love could bring. Emma held the folded note in her hands, staring at it as though it might whisper its secrets aloud. The warm sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting stripes across her fingers, the paper, and the carpet. Max sat nearby, eyes intent, his head slightly tilted. He nudged her knee gently, a subtle insistence that made her heart twist. She hesitated. For a moment she let doubt creep in. It's just an old note, she thought. A sentimental message, nothing more. Emma's fingers shook slightly as she smoothed the paper flat. She glanced down at Max, whose gaze had grown more focused, almost imploring. He shifted forward, pawing softly at the edge of the note, ears twitching. Emma forced a smile. "It's okay, Max. I get it," she said, folding the paper back into the frame. She placed it gently on the table, trying to calm herself. But Max refused to settle. He paced a little, sniffing the frame, circling it with quiet urgency. His tail flicked, low and deliberate, his body tense but composed. Emma sighed, brushing her hands through her hair. She knew Max had instincts sharper than most humans, he always had. But part of her wanted to dismiss the intensity of his behavior. He's just an old dog, she reasoned. Maybe he's confused. Maybe he's reacting to a shadow or a smell. Max barked softly just once, a sound that carried no aggression, only focus. He backed toward the corner of the room, then returned to the frame, his eyes never leaving Emma. It was as if he were saying, "You're missing it. Don't look away." Emma froze. She knelt again, trying to steady her breath. "Max, I know you're trying to tell me something, but I don't understand," she murmured. Her voice trembled with both confusion and awe. The room was filled with silence, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant murmur of traffic. Max stepped closer, nudging her hand again, patient but insistent. His tail gave a slight wag, a heartbeat of reassurance. Emma realized she was holding herself back, her mind racing with logic, trying to rationalize what she had already felt. Her heart, however, had known the truth the moment Max froze by the frame. She picked up the photograph again, brushing her fingers over the glass. The note slipped slightly behind it, peeking out. Emma's chest tightened. She felt a mix of fear and anticipation. What if it's nothing? What if it's something too much? She swallowed, unsure if she was ready to see what Max had sensed. Max let out a low whine, leaning closer to her. His warm body pressed against her leg. The weight of his presence, the quiet confidence in his eyes, made it impossible to ignore him. He had never been wrong before. He never had. Emma exhaled slowly, finally surrendering to the moment. She removed the note carefully, her fingers brushing Max's soft fur as she did. The paper unfolded, revealing more than just words. It revealed memory, history, love. Her grandmother's familiar handwriting filled the page, each loop and curve carrying a weight of gentle intention. Max settled back on the rug, tail flicking softly, his eyes half-lidded in satisfaction. Emma read the note aloud quietly, savoring every word. The message wasn't just a greeting. It was guidance, a small revelation, a whisper from the past that demanded attention. And Max had led her there, every instinct precise, every movement purposeful. The room felt alive in a way it hadn't moments ago. Dust motes sparkled in the light like tiny fragments of memory. The aroma of coffee lingered. The faint creak of the floorboards reminded Emma of every small, ordinary sound that had suddenly felt extraordinary. She realized she had almost missed it, almost ignored the quiet insistence of a loyal companion who saw beyond the ordinary. Max nudged her again, soft and gentle, resting his head against her knee. His eyes met hers, full of patience and trust. "We're here together," they seemed to say. "You finally understand." Emma smiled softly, brushing his fur with one hand while holding the note with the other. She had hesitated, misread him even, but now she understood. Max wasn't just a dog. He was a guide, a protector, and a keeper of secrets she had yet to uncover. She took a deep breath. The morning sun felt warmer. The air felt lighter. Max exhaled softly, and the room settled into a quiet, comfortable rhythm. Emma had hesitated, yes, but now she was ready to see what lay ahead. The morning light shifted, painting longer shadows across the living room. Emma sat on the edge of the couch, holding her grandmother's note in her hands. Max lay nearby at first, but his ears twitched and his tail flicked lightly. He had been unusually restless since the discovery, circling the room, sniffing near the frame, then pausing to stare at some invisible point only he could see. Emma watched him, puzzled. "Max, what is it now?" she asked softly, trying to mask the rising anxiety in her voice. He responded with a low whine, pawing the floor in a slow rhythmic pattern. Then he stepped toward the photo frame again, nudging it gently with his nose. He sat rigid, body tense, and stared at her, unblinking. She shook her head, unsure whether to laugh or panic. "I've read the note, Max. I get it. Can we just calm down?" she whispered. But Max ignored her words. He circled the frame once more, then paused, nose almost touching the glass. His breathing was steady but deliberate, and his eyes were sharp, alert. Emma leaned closer, heart thudding. She noticed that he wasn't just reacting randomly. Each movement, each small whine seemed calculated. His ears flicked toward the hallway, then back to her. He sniffed the air, tail stiff, then stepped back. Every motion conveyed a subtle, insistent message. Pay attention. Don't overlook this. The tension in the room thickened. Emma felt it pressing against her chest. She had always trusted Max's instincts, but this level of insistence was new. His eyes followed her every movement. Whenever she looked away, he nudged her hand, leaned closer, and let out a soft whine. The pattern was unmistakable. He was guiding her, pushing her toward something she had not yet fully seen. She tried to distract herself, sipping her coffee, taking slow breaths. But Max refused to relax. He circled again, then sat, fixated on a specific corner of the photograph frame. His tail gave a sharp flick, a heartbeat of urgency, and his posture stiffened. Emma felt her pulse quicken. Something was indeed hidden there. Something she had missed. Max's instincts were precise, almost surgical. He sniffed, stepped back, then returned, repeating the motions, his body language layered with meaning. Each movement was a reminder. Look closer. Don't rush. Pay attention. Emma knelt, lowering her head to meet his gaze. Okay. I see you," she whispered. Her fingers hovered over the frame, trembling slightly. The quiet in the room was profound. Outside, a soft breeze rattled the blinds, sending dappled sunlight flickering across the floor. The faint hum of traffic and distant bird calls created a gentle rhythm, but inside, tension hummed in the air like an electric current. Max's behavior was relentless yet calm. It was the tension of knowing something important was just out of reach, a mystery waiting to be uncovered. Emma's eyes fell on a tiny, subtle mark on the corner of the frame, a shadow of a fold in the paper tucked behind it. She leaned closer, breathing shallow, heart hammering. Max watched her intently, tail thumping softly against the floor. He nudged her hand again, patient but firm. Slowly, Emma reached forward and lifted the frame slightly. The note behind it peeked out further than before, revealing more of her grandmother's handwriting. Max sat back, ears flicking, eyes scanning the room as if ensuring everything was safe while she explored. Emma unfolded the note fully this time, her hands trembling. She read the words aloud in a soft, almost reverent voice. Max rested his head on her knee, tail flicking gently, eyes alert. The tension that had filled the room didn't vanish immediately. Instead, it shifted, from anxiety to anticipation, from uncertainty to the quiet realization that the discovery was guiding her forward. He nudged her again, not impatiently, but with a gentle insistence, reminding her to take it all in. Every detail, every line of the note, every subtle movement of the room around them, it mattered. Max had orchestrated the discovery with unwavering patience. Emma exhaled slowly, letting the moment stretch. The tension ebbed into a soft, warm energy, the kind that comes from trust, from love, from knowing that someone, or in this case something, has been watching over you all along. She looked down at Max, eyes meeting his, and whispered, "You're incredible, you know that?" He gave a small, satisfied whine, resting his head gently against her knee. Emma smiled through the rising tears in her eyes. Max had done it again. He had guided her, insisted patiently, and now the truth of the moment was clear. For the first time she understood fully. This was more than a note. It was a message, a memory, and a bond, all revealed through the quiet insistence of a dog who had never been wrong. Emma's hands trembled as she finally held the note fully unfolded in front of her. The sunlight spilling through the blinds seemed warmer now, softer, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Max remained by her side, ears pricked, tail still, eyes steady and unwavering. He had led her here, guided her through tension and hesitation, and now the moment of revelation had arrived. She leaned closer, reading the words aloud in a quiet, reverent voice. For Emma, when the time feels right. Love, Grandma. Her grandmother's handwriting was precise, familiar, warm. A touch of the past pressed gently into the present. Emma's eyes lingered on every loop and curve of the letters, feeling the weight of decades of love and wisdom within them. Max nudged her hand gently, his eyes flicking toward the corner of the note. There, almost hidden in the fold, was a small sketch. A little house with a garden, a tree with wide, embracing branches, and a heart tucked in the corner. Emma gasped softly. Her grandmother had drawn the home they had shared for so many years, the one filled with warmth, laughter, and memories too numerous to count. Max stepped closer, placing a gentle paw on her knee. His gaze remained locked on hers, almost triumphant, as if to say, "See? I told you. It was here all along." Emma smiled, tears pooling in her eyes. She felt the tug of nostalgia, the ache of love long past, and the quiet thrill of discovery all at once. Slowly she noticed another detail, a faint crease at the edge of the paper. She unfolded it further, revealing a tiny hidden message in the corner, written in smaller script. "Meet me where the light falls through the old oak." Emma's heart skipped. The old oak tree, the one behind her grandmother's house, where they had spent countless afternoons watching clouds, sharing stories and laughing together. She looked down at Max. You led me here," she whispered, her voice trembling. Max tilted his head, eyes calm but full of quiet satisfaction. His tail flicked once, a subtle affirmation. Emma felt a shiver of awe. How had he sensed this? How had he known that a note and a sketch, hidden so carefully, would be enough to guide her forward? The room felt almost sacred. Dust motes shimmered in the warm light, moving like tiny spirits dancing around her. The faint scent of her grandmother's lavender lingered in the note, mingling with the morning coffee. Emma's fingers traced the lines of the sketch and the hidden words, and a sense of connection washed over her. This was more than a note. It was a bridge between past and present, a conversation that transcended time, carried through the careful guidance of a loyal companion. Max nudged the note again, resting his head on her knee. Emma smiled through her tears, realizing that every step he had taken, the circling, the nudging, the insistent but gentle pawing, had been intentional. He had sensed the significance, had guided her patiently through hesitation and doubt. A breeze shifted through the window, lifting a stray hair from Max's golden coat and brushing against Emma's cheek. She inhaled deeply, savoring the scent and the warmth. The discovery wasn't just the note or the sketch. It was the realization that love could transcend time, that memory could be preserved in the smallest details, and that intuition, even canine intuition, could lead to profound revelation. Emma looked down at Max, hugging him gently. "I understand now," she whispered, voice breaking softly. "You knew. You always knew." Max leaned into her, eyes closing briefly in quiet contentment. The moment stretched, soft and luminous, filled with trust, love, and the quiet joy of uncovering something deeply personal and meaningful. The reveal was complete. The hidden detail had unlocked not just memory, but emotion. Emma felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a mixture of relief, joy, and the subtle ache of nostalgia. She knew she would follow the note's guidance, visit the old oak tree, and uncover even more of her grandmother's thoughtful messages. Max rested his head on the carpet, tail flicking gently, ears relaxed. He had done his job, and in that quiet living room, bathed in soft sunlight, Emma realized the truth. This was more than a dog discovering a note. This was a loyal companion guiding her heart, teaching her to pay attention, to trust instinct, and to open herself fully to love that spanned generations. For the first time, everything felt aligned, past, present, and future. And Emma knew without a doubt that Max's quiet insistence had revealed a moment she would never forget. Emma sat on the couch, the note resting gently on her lap. Her fingers lingered on the sketch, tracing the delicate lines of her grandmother's old home, the tree, the heart tucked in the corner. Tears had blurred her vision, but she didn't mind. Max lay at her feet, head resting on her knee, eyes soft and watchful. Every so often, he lifted his snout to nudge her hand, a quiet reassurance that she wasn't alone. Her heart felt heavy with the weight of memory, but also light with the warmth of rediscovery. The note had stirred something long dormant, a mix of nostalgia, longing, and the unspoken grief she hadn't fully faced since her grandmother's passing. Max's presence anchored her, reminding her that she wasn't just reliving the past. She was being guided through it step by step. Emma's chest tightened as a memory surfaced. Sitting in the garden as a child, her grandmother's fingers brushing gently against hers, the scent of fresh lavender in the air. She had always taken those afternoons for granted, thinking there would always be more. But now, holding the note and feeling Max's gentle insistence, she realized how much she had missed. Max lifted his head, ears alert, and gave a soft whine. Emma looked down at him. "I know, boy," she whispered, voice trembling. "I know I can't bring her back, but I can honor her memory. I can feel her here, in small moments like this." He nudged her hand again, then pressed his warm head against her chest. The sensation was grounding, almost healing in its simplicity. Emma inhaled deeply, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the emotions wash over her. The weight of sadness eased, replaced with a quiet gratitude. She realized that Max had done more than lead her to a note. He had brought her back to herself, helped her navigate grief with patience and love. The sunlight shifted through the blinds, illuminating the living room in soft, warm tones. Dust motes floated lazily in the golden light, and the faint scent of lavender mingled with the lingering aroma of coffee. Max's tail thumped gently against the floor, a comforting rhythm that seemed to echo Emma's heartbeat. She opened her eyes and smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Max," she whispered, stroking his fur. "You've done more for me than you could ever know." He leaned into her hand, eyes half closed in contentment, as if acknowledging her gratitude without words. For the first time since discovering the note, Emma felt a sense of clarity. The grief she had carried for so long didn't vanish, but it softened. The note, the sketch, the hidden message, they were all reminders that love endures, that connection persists, and that healing can be found in the quiet guidance of those who care for us, even in ways we can't fully explain. Max shifted slightly, resting his head on her lap. His warm, steady presence allowed her to breathe more easily, to let herself feel fully. She laughed softly through her tears, the sound light and free. "You're a remarkable dog, you know that?" she murmured. "Not just loyal but intuitive and wise." Max gave a small, approving whine, nudging her hand again. Emma knew that this moment would linger in her memory. The way the sunlight fell, the soft weight of Max's head against her knee, the subtle fragrance of her grandmother's presence in the room. The emotional rescue had been gentle, patient, and transformative. Max had guided her not only to a discovery, but to an awakening of heart and spirit. The room remained quiet, peaceful. The note rested beside her, the sketch fully visible, and Max lay curled comfortably at her side. Emma leaned back, exhaling slowly, letting the warmth and love of the moment sink in. The tension of hesitation and uncertainty had passed, replaced by calm understanding, trust, and an enduring bond that could never be broken. She glanced down at Max, smiling softly. "We'll go to the old oak tree soon," she whispered. "We'll see where this leads." Together. Max's tail flicked once, a gentle affirmation, his eyes reflecting the quiet joy of shared purpose. The emotional rescue was complete. The grief softened, the love deepened, and the bond between human and dog, intuitive, patient, and loyal, grew stronger than ever. The afternoon sunlight softened as it spilled into the living room, wrapping everything in a gentle golden warmth. Emma sat cross-legged on the rug, Max lying comfortably beside her, his head resting on her knee. The note and sketch lay open on the coffee table, their details still vivid and tender. The quiet hum of the world outside, distant traffic, chirping birds, the faint rustle of leaves, blended seamlessly with the calm in the room. Emma inhaled deeply, letting the air fill her lungs. She could feel the tension in her chest slowly unwinding. Each exhale carried a little of the lingering grief she had carried since her grandmother's passing. Max nudged her hand gently, reminding her to pause, to breathe, to be present. His instincts were subtle, patient, guiding her through the layers of emotion she hadn't even realized she was holding. Memories rose like gentle waves, soft and warm. She remembered afternoons in her grandmother's garden, the sweet scent of lavender mingling with the earthy smell of soil. The laughter, the quiet talks, the small gestures of care, all flooded back. Emma closed her eyes, letting herself feel it fully. She allowed the tears to fall, each one a small release of grief, a cleansing of the soul. Max shifted slightly, resting his head fully against her lap. His warmth grounded her. Every subtle sigh, every flick of his tail, every gentle nudge felt like a quiet affirmation that she was safe, loved, and not alone. The room felt like a sanctuary, a place where healing could happen naturally, without rush or expectation. Emma took the note in her hands again, this time studying it not just as a discovery but as a bridge between her grandmother's love and her own heart. The words seemed to hum with gentle energy, reminding her that connection never truly fades. Max lay beside her, ears alert but relaxed, his presence a living reminder that healing could be shared, that companionship could soothe wounds left unspoken. She began to speak aloud, softly, as though sharing her thoughts with both Max and the memory of her grandmother. "I understand now," she whispered. "Love isn't just about being together. It's about remembering, feeling, listening." Max let out a soft whine, leaning into her hand. His body pressed gently against her, a subtle encouragement to continue. Time passed slowly, measured by the golden light shifting across the floor, by the faint creak of the floorboards, by Max's rhythmic breathing. Emma felt the heaviness of grief lift, replaced by something warmer, acceptance, clarity, and a sense of inner peace. She realized that the process of healing wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was quiet, cumulative, built in small, tender moments of attention, reflection, and love. Max nudged the note toward her again, a gentle reminder that there were still steps to take, that the journey wasn't over. Emma smiled, picking it up and folding it carefully. She felt gratitude for the note, for her grandmother's thoughtfulness, and most of all for Max. His loyalty, patience, and intuition had guided her not just to discovery, but through the emotional release she needed. She leaned back against the couch, Max curling beside her, and closed her eyes. The light of the late afternoon painted the room in soft hues of amber. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a steady calm within her. The past no longer felt heavy. It felt embraced, acknowledged, honored. Max's steady presence was the bridge that allowed her to move forward, to heal without forgetting, to feel without fear. Emma whispered to him softly, voice full of warmth and quiet awe, "We're going to be okay together." Max rested his head fully on her lap, tail flicking once in gentle affirmation. The healing process was ongoing, yet Emma felt its rhythm now. A slow, gentle unfolding of heart and mind, guided by memory, love, and the unspoken understanding between human and dog. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying a soft sense of continuity and hope. Inside, Emma and Max remained together, quiet and present. Every breath, every nudge, every shared moment wove a tapestry of healing that stretched from the past into the present, promising warmth and connection in the days yet to come. The sun had begun its descent, casting long golden rays across the living room. Emma sat on the floor, Max resting comfortably beside her, his head warm against her thigh. The note and sketch from her grandmother lay open on the coffee table, now fully explored, cherished, and understood. The soft hum of the evening outside, distant birds, faint traffic, the rustle of leaves, blended seamlessly with the gentle stillness within. Emma reached down, running her fingers slowly along Max's coat. He closed his eyes briefly, sighing softly, his body relaxed yet alert, a living embodiment of loyalty and intuition. She smiled through the lingering tears in her eyes. "You've guided me through so much, Max," she whispered. "Through hesitation, doubt, grief, and discovery. I don't know what I would have done without you." Max lifted his head, ears flicking, eyes meeting hers with a depth of understanding that went beyond words. His subtle movements, the nudges, the pawing, the gentle insistence, had been more than behavior. They had been messages, reminders, lessons in trust, patience, and love. Emma realized fully now that the bond between them wasn't just companionship. It was sacred, unshakable, a bridge between generations, memories, and hearts. She stood slowly, Max following closely, his paws patting softly against the hardwood floor. Together they moved toward the window, the fading sunlight spilling across them, highlighting the gold in his fur. Emma glanced down at him, smiling. "You've always known, haven't you?" she murmured. He gave a small whine, a sound almost like affirmation, and leaned against her leg, steady and warm. For the first time, Emma understood that love could transcend time. Her grandmother's presence, once thought gone, was here in memory, in the note, in the sketch, and in the quiet guidance of her loyal companion. Max had been more than a dog. He had been a guardian of memory, a messenger of love, and a teacher of patience. She knelt, hugging him tightly. The warmth of his body, the softness of his fur, the gentle rhythm of his breathing, it grounded her, connected her to the present, and reminded her of the enduring power of trust. She whispered into his fur, voice low and reverent, "We'll always find each other through memory, through love, through every small moment. You and I were unstoppable together." Max rested his head against her shoulder, eyes half closed in quiet satisfaction. The room seemed to shimmer in the fading light. The ordinary transformed into extraordinary through connection. Every small sound, the creak of the floor, the faint murmur of the street, the distant call of a bird, became part of the tapestry of their shared moment. Emma stood again, looking around the room, breathing in deeply. She realized that healing, love, and memory were all intertwined. Each had a rhythm, a pulse, a presence that could be felt in the quietest gestures. Max had guided her not just to the discovery of the note, but to the understanding that love was eternal, that bonds, when nurtured with patience, trust, and care, could never be broken. She placed her hand on Max's head, pressing lightly, feeling the warmth, the heartbeat beneath her palm. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. For guiding me, for protecting me, for being my heart when I needed it most." Max nudged her hand gently, tail flicking in gentle agreement. The evening deepened, the room bathed in amber light, the outside world softening into dusk. Emma and Max sat together, quiet and serene. In that calm, she felt the unspoken truth fully. Love, memory, and loyalty were intertwined in a bond that could never falter. Max had led her not just to a note, but to understanding, to healing, and to the warmth of connection that transcends time and space. The bond between them was unbreakable, and in that realization Emma felt a quiet spiritual peace, a soft knowing that every small gesture of love, every instinct followed, every memory honored, became part of a legacy that would live on, through hearts, through devotion, and through the quiet, unwavering guidance of a loyal friend. Max rested his head on her lap, tail flicking once in gentle rhythm. Emma leaned down, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth, the love, and the calm sink fully into her being. The world outside could wait. Here, in this soft golden evening light, past, present, and future were in perfect harmony. Together they had discovered, healed, and connected. Together, their hearts spoke the language of loyalty, intuition, and unconditional love. And that language, quiet, steadfast, and true, would carry them forward always.